Speaking. Hi, everybody. Hopefully, you're able to follow us and join us today for our introductory session with Sami. So, Shalini, I'm going to hand it off to you first and foremost.
Okay, hopefully we have some folks that have joined. And I've sent a note to the total group, so I'm gonna put that one out there. Hopefully everyone has a link and we'll get some people coming in. But I wanted to say thank you so much for those that are either watching this live or you are watching this as a recording. We really want to acknowledge all the success that we've had in a mere month of starting this as a WhatsApp group, and we're now, announcing some of the more administrative items that are going to come your way. And we do have a plan for 2026 and a little bit of a vision for beyond 2026. And I really am here. My name is Shalini, to just set the tone of what today's introduction is all about. I really want to speak about why SAMI exists, or SAMI, however you choose to pronounce it. And also introduce the core admin group that has really come together in a very organic manner through this authentic passion that each of us have to bring together the community and in a very authentic manner. So starting with, why SAMI exists, the real of it is Yogesh and I were chit-chatting and decided this was a gap, and we went ahead and just started it. We had no goals in mind other than whoever would like to join and connect and sort of support one another, however that support may come through learning development, just pure networking, maybe some mentoring, support and encouragement of one another. And luckily we've gone from just Yogesh and I in a WhatsApp group to over 120 members. I don't know what we're at right now. I'm sure someone has the number. And that's really the gist of why we started this, is for people to want to be a part of our broader community. There are quite of us South Asian folks who are in marketing and insights or adjacent type of roles, which is very unique. And I'm sure a lot of us share similar stories of our origins, of we never thought we would be here today. I see hot, head nods on that. And, there's a lot of us who have lived so much of corporate America or internationally, the corporate life, and had many learnings. And there's a lot of us who are on journeys or even just starting journeys and need some guidance and want to share, a lot of those learnings. So this is what that forum is for. The forum is really to develop an understanding of the commonalities between us, but also develop understanding of new learnings that we can learn from one another, and really build on that trust and reciprocity overall. Give back to the community in whatever manner you're capable of giving back to. So again, my name is Shalini. I'll be moderating. I'd like to introduce Yogesh. If you can go ahead and give a little snippet about yourself, and also go through the commonsensical principles, what this group is for and maybe not for, hot take. And then I'll go ahead and introduce the rest of the admin as we go through a little bit of a discussion guide in true insights manner.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shalini. So, when we started this thing, this group here, this has been on my mind for a very, very long period of time. And quite frankly speaking, it's always about who's going to be able to, start this. Do I want to start it or not? There are all these kinds of questions that kind of come up basically, right? So when Shalini reached out to me and said, "Hey, is there a group, for South Asians?" I said, "No, there isn't. Why don't we just start one?" As she said, right? And within 30 minutes, we started the whole group. Now, the reality is that neither one of us really knew what we were doing, kind of thing. We kind of knew, but we didn't know. But in the process of literally 5 weeks and 2 days, that's how old this group is. We have over 130 people who have signed up already, and we actually have one or two people that are probably in the process of getting signed up as well. But as we were designing this, we've been doing some stuff on the fly, but we do have one clear vision and one clear mission that we're going to rally around, hopefully, and others are going to talk about that in a minute. But excuse me. There are a couple of things that I do want to just kind of reinforce for everyone, because with a big group like this, it's very easy to get caught up in conversations about a lot of different topics. So that's why we put these commonsensical principles in place up front, just so that we can kind of make sure we don't get everybody's WhatsApp group messages completely exploding on us and making it into something so overwhelming that we lose sight of what we're trying to actually accomplish. So the first thing is, what are we trying to do? People who are who are doing career moves, they may need referrals, they may need support, they may want to know about roles and how to think about specific roles. They may be even having questions about how to navigate an organization, right? Those are conversations that we want to have, right? As South Asians, we want to support each other in terms of how we go about doing that. So that's one whole area that we are very much about encouraging and wanting to have conversations in that space. The other big area that we also want to encourage and have conversations around is business growth. People want to have introductions. They may have feedback for proposals, or they may want to have insights on a particular client. That's also legitimate, right? The one thing we want to just be protective of is that we don't want this to be like, oh, I have something to sell to somebody and I'm going to use this platform to sell to everybody else. That's not going to be helpful, because that's just going to turn everybody off, right? So we want to be respectful of the fact that this is a place where we are building each other up in a way where it's supportive but not selling per se, right? So just think about that as how you're going about and doing that. The third big area is mentoring, right? Whether it's peer-to-peer, whether it's getting guidance from senior folks, people with gray hair like myself, or somebody else, even reverse mentoring. You will be surprised how often I've already asked, Shruti and Shalini and Fiza and even Pavi for that matter, about, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think, right? Just because we're older doesn't mean we know everything, and especially in this day and age where there's so many things that are happening, right? I want to rely on people who are younger than me, who have seen things in a different way and have had different life experiences in supporting and helping me think things through, right? So this goes in both directions. It's not just a one direction thing, basically, right? Then there's also the other part around experiences, right? We all have life experiences, professional experiences, what's worked, what hasn't worked in our careers. Share that. Literally share that, because something that may have happened for you might actually spark something for somebody else and help them. And we won't have time today to share some of the stories, but there's one particular story that I'm extremely proud of, that one of our members shared with me, where I shared something that had happened to me in my career. It triggered something in him. It helped him in his career as a consequence of that. This happened about 5 years ago, right? So by sharing those kinds of stories, you'll be amazed how you're helping other people. You're learning from each other as a consequence of that. And then, the last big area that I would also say, South Asians, we like to be humble, right? It's been ingrained in us to be humble, right? And we all live by those principles to some degree, right? There's nothing wrong in celebrating your wins. Go ahead and celebrate your wins and say, I accomplished this. I got promoted here. I had something happen here. So all those things matter a lot, so I would encourage you. Shruti, you need to get one of those off. I can maybe do it.
I think it's worked. It's good. We're good now.
Okay, I got that taken care of. There we go. So those are the kinds of things that we want to do. Career support, business support, mentoring, real life experiences, celebrating your wins. These are areas that we highly recommend, conversations along those places to happen. If you're unsure, reach out to one of us, ask us, and we'll guide you through the process, right? So, we want everybody to feel that. We also want you to be yourself as well, by the way. We don't want you to limit you, but at the same time, recognize the fact that you may not know everybody on the community. So some people may have higher degrees of sensitivity versus less. All those things are there. So, be smart about how you're posting, so that way you're not, how do I say, feeling that you're, stepping on somebody's toes or whatever the case may be. Pose it as a question, pose it as a ask for help, and that will be a way you're inviting people then to help you solve the problem or solve the the question that you may have, that you're wrestling with. I think even Deepak had posted a question yesterday asking this for some support. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking for everybody to do when you feel most comfortable doing that. Now,
Wonderful. So thank you
oh,
so much, Yogesh. Oh, you have
sorry,
one more?
I have one more point to make, and then I'll be done.
Yep.
Sorry, it's really important that I say this. There are some things we don't want to talk about. Okay, not in this forum. We can create separate forums, or you can create separate forums if you're finding a group of people that are similar or like-minded. No politics, no religion, no sports debates. Those are the things that blow up into conversations in a big way, and we want those to be done in separate places, not on this particular forum, right? So I'll stop there. And if anybody's got questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'll also answer them in that context as well. So, Shalini, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yogesh. Okay, so moving on, I will give an opportunity for Pavi, Shruti, and Fiza to introduce themselves and also share what roles they will be playing for fostering SAMI as it is and how it will grow essentially. So, Pavi, I'd like to start with you. Please feel free to introduce yourself. And I would love for you to share a little bit about why you're interested in the role that you've chosen to take and what the importance of it is for the overall SAMI group.
Yeah, thank you, Shalini and Yogesh. Yogesh, you missed one. No Bollywood conversations as well. That also gets.
Yes.
There will be a Gupshup channel, though. I need a little bit of Gupshup, okay?
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out.
Hello, everyone. Abhi Gupta. I'm navigating a transition phase in my professional career, but I've been in the insights industry for 29 years now. Half of these, or more than half of that, was in Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, SC Johnson, and Chobani for a little bit, based out of Chicagoland area. So I'm very excited to, be part of this and see how we can continue to drive this momentum further. The role I wanted to kind of help with was, I think we called it as a treasurer, or kind of make this work. So everyone would be happy to know that you have a treasurer who believes in commonsensical principles, like Yogesh says. And the first common sense is it's always called give and take, never called take and give. So as a treasurer, that's the philosophy I'll be espousing is what is Sami giving to you before we ask for anything in return. This is not a commercial endeavor. This is not a startup that has been formed with a business, reality or some challenges of how do we grow or drive top or bottom line growth at all. We also considered, should we be establishing ourselves as a not-for-profit? We unanimously arrived at the consensus that let's punt that for a year. Let's take that call a year from now. So let's see how this momentum goes, and a year from now we will regroup ourselves and see what our requirements are and how we can optimize and further our mission, and what does that therefore need for us from a financial independence perspective, and therefore do we need to establish some principles of setting up a not-for-profit, and that comes with its own administrative set of things that needs to get done. So right now we are going to do this in a very desi way, jugaad. We're going whatever resources that we can tap into, that are available in the worldwide net, and with these amazing LLM, and agentic solutions which are out there, and learn how to optimize that on our own. Of course, if we stumble in that journey and if we reach a crossroad where we cannot sustain even to the course of the year, then we will come back to the community and say, listen, we need help. At this point of time, we feel we will be able to work very well driving this momentum for the next 1 year. Let me hand it back to you, Shalini, because I don't remember the flow yet.
No, that's great. I think that's the most important. I think you've covered the most important pieces. The only thing I would ask you to speak about is what members should not worry about. So do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, I think you should not worry about, don't worry about any unexpected surprises or, any monetization, right? There is no monetization aspect of it. To the extent, like Yogesh said, we also don't want people to feel that, they are being leveraged as an audience. disproportionately because someone tomorrow I'm actively considering, should I start on my own? Yogesh is already an incredible entrepreneur, and some of the people who are in SAMI might potentially be clients or might already be clients, but that's a different forum and different setup. And that is cross purpose to the mission, and what we are trying to do here is to build a community, a network, and support each other, right? And I think the other thing that I want to also point out is it's all about inclusion, not exclusion, right? Just because we are South Asians in marketing and insights, each of that word matters. Like if we are South, doesn't mean the North, West, and East is forgotten. If we are Asian, doesn't mean the rest of the world is not needed. If we are insights, doesn't mean the other functions are not needed, and vice versa. If we are marketing, doesn't mean anything is being excluded. I think we are all about inclusion, and we are all about helping each other. We do believe having a core group brings some kind of a consistency and common purpose and common areas where we can help each other. So it helps build a little bit of a tribe, but it's not an exclusive tribe.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm actually going to segue to Fizza. Please intro yourself. And as you intro yourself, you will relate to this, to the last statement that Pavi made around why South Asians specifically in marketing and insights, and how we as a group have discussed and leverage, our survey results to build programming on learning development and some other aspects for 2026.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shalini. And I think even before I got to know about SAMI was in spirit and action between me and Pavi in a telephone conversation. So this is how it happened. This is how I got pulled into SAMI, is because I've been in the marketing and brand management field for 15, 16 years, but I'm brand new to the US. And I was reaching out to professionals in the industry, and that's how I met Pavi. And he was guiding me, mentoring me, and then he said, "Hey, why don't you join this group? Because this is," and I believe, like, while I've now become a volunteer and part of the core team, I'm also the biggest beneficiary of having had this community around me in just 1 month, I'm realizing. So yes, I'm Fizza. I've been with companies like Unilever, Nestle, Conagra Foods, worked in South Asia, Middle East and Turkey, also in Canada, and now based in Atlanta. Very happy to be here. I feel really passionate about what you mentioned, Shalini, and we heard that from our members. What are South Asians working in global spaces looking for, be it in terms of learning and development? And let me speak through some of the pillars that SAMI will be offering its members, and we have now kind of decided that for 2026 as our year one. So there'll be 3 pillars that we will be focusing on. Number 1 is the learning and development pillar, which is all around the functional skill set of building AI skills. And that's something that we will be going on very kind of specifically on monthly trainings. These will be virtual. In fact, from the community, if anybody is working at the forefront of AI and feels like they would like to speak or contribute, as Pavi said, this is all about giving and then also taking. So it's a two-way interaction. So feel free to reach out to us if any of you feel like you'd like to speak about any particular topic in AI and contribute to the community. That's the functional part. So there will be a lot of that upskilling happening. But the second part to L&D is the soft skills part. So a lot of us who are navigating the global markets, be it here in the US and Europe, even the other kind of Pacific side, we might need some soft skills training, learning from peers, from even like reverse mentoring, right? So how do we go about those soft skills? How do we make that ask? How do we reach out to somebody that we don't know, but we might want to collaborate with, or even apply for a job, right? So some of that soft skills training will fall under this L&D pillar as well. So that's the first one. The number 2 thing that we will work on is having more informal, and we like to call it, I like the name that Shalini said, coffee chats. So what we will be doing is we'll be pairing you up quarter and quarter with, a diverse set of people within SAMI, and you will get a chance to, have a coffee chat, virtual, if you guys are in the same city. Feel free to do it in person as well. But that will give all of us as a community an opportunity to connect without having a very specific agenda, but also kind of being open, right? So you meet somebody, you see a couple of professional aspects that are common, but you might even find personal aspects that are common. Like for Shruti, myself, and Aparna, that happened on the first meeting that we were here in Atlanta and connecting under SAMI. So we will be arranging for that, the coffee pairings. And number 3, I think, which is the more in-person. we're going big with this in January. A lot of us have been talking about the CES event in Vegas, and thanks to SAMI, we are getting an opportunity to kind of collaborate and be a part of that in-person event. There's going to be a lot of learning, but also networking and upskilling. I can foresee that. So in-person events will include, of course, the larger conferences where you might get a chance to participate, but also in-person networking breakfast. We had one last week when Yogesh was visiting us from Chicago. Those could be by chapter, Chicago, New York, even in Europe, London, etc. This could be informal lunches and dinners. It could be cultural events. And we would definitely look out to the community to kind of, volunteer. And if anybody wants to be a chapter lead in their local community, please come forward. This is the spirit of SAMI. We are all simply volunteering here, bringing what we can bring to the table, and it's a passion point for us. So that's how we go about it. And I would say the lasting kind of comment, I would relate this back to what Pavi said. While we are SAMI and we are trying to support the South Asian community in the context of marketing insight, we need to be mindful of how we impact the context that we operate in. So the non-South Asian context, right? So we are outwardly having an impact. So in future, our events may be collaborations with many other international organizations, and that's kind of the vision. So we need to kind of look at our kind of global community impact outside the South Asian community as well. So always keep an eye for that. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And as she mentioned, if you are interested in speaking on a topic or you'd like to request a particular topic, whether it be learning development around the AI pillar or it be on the soft skills pillar, we also would like to put together programming on marketing mastery, for example, and for us insights folks, insights to commercialization and truly making strong business impact. How does your qualitative data translate to impacting EBITDA or net sales revenue? How do you triangulate that with penetration and whatnot? So, I will be curating that kind of agenda as well. And we really want this to be not only upskilling, but enhance your confidence in the workplace for you to showcase what you know or what you've learned. I think naturally as a community, we are always very curious individuals. We are intelligent individuals. We are highly empathetic individuals, and we have that ability to triangulate all of those innate skills in us and communicate to our partners. That makes us very special in the workplace and outside, of course. So moving forward, I'm going to ask Shruti, please introduce yourself and really speak about why you have the role you do and how people can be engaged in the community.
Yeah, thank you, Shalini. And, I just want to start off by saying that the whole spirit of this group is, the ability to be vulnerable. And, starting off, I had a little bit of a jittery start here with the background and, technical issues. But I think that's the spirit of SAMI, where, you can be yourself, you can be authentic, you can be vulnerable, and we have each other. This group, I feel, in my opinion, was not created for any one of us individually. I think this is a group for everyone, and we want everyone to engage actively and participate. Just bring who you are. You don't have. It doesn't have to be a perfect world where you're bringing in, anything that's expected from you, but just organically engaging with the group and developing partnerships and connections, and just being able to tap on everyone's shoulders. It's a safe space. It's where you can just go in and ask the questions. There's no dumb questions. There's no basic questions. So feel free to reach out. And the community aspect of this group is very big, and as I think everyone can already feel that. Between 130 members that we're strong as a team already. I've reached out to a lot of people. And had some offline conversations. So. Within the spirit of communities, I think we're trying to build a little bit of an infrastructure, if you will. Taking this group from the chat section within WhatsApp over to a communities tab. So a lot of us might already be familiar with that. You may be part of different communities on WhatsApp already, but I think one of the roles that I'm trying to play on SAMI is to create that infrastructure and to create that sort of a community feel where the conversations can be more organized. It'll be smaller group setups for individual chapters. Where you are, if you're based out of the greater Atlanta area, you could be part of one chapter. if you're based out of the Bay Area, it just helps to have more, like small, conversations that are more easy, and, planning becomes easier. There's definitely more organization that's involved, and a more advanced level of encryption and privacy. I think I did read somewhere within the groups that, as we're sharing a global directory, there's personal information involved. I think the communities at the tab kind of gives you that additional feature as well. So, other than that, I think, we also have like a generic group. So once you join the group, which, we'll share the link with the main group after this call, but you can join the community section, and then you'll be a part of like 2 global groups, which would be the announcements as well as the general discussions. But then you will have the option to join some of the other groups. So, to Fiza's point, there will be a group or a channel, if you will, around AI. And you can just go ahead and join that, and try to contribute as much as you can, just get involved and have discussions. And I think that is really what is going to bring this group to life, just building those connections, those organic connections, and sharing what you can bring to the table, and also be willing to ask the right questions. In addition to that, of course, we'll have a Gupshup channel, which will be, talking about anything and everything under the sun. You can grab your chai and just, or coffee if that's your preferred drink, but just come over, talk about anything other than politics, sports, movies. But, those topics are off limit. But other than that, I think you can talk about anything and everything under the sun. So, we're trying to keep it very easy, very chill, at the same time, just building those organic connections within our community, within South Asians, within the marketing and insight space. I really wish something like this existed 20 years ago when I was starting out. Pavi, I've known Pavi for many, many years. And, he's been like this mentor, champion, and advocate, promoter, all in one. He's really, brought our community forward, especially, at Coke and other places, I'm sure, as well. But I think this community provides that sort of a platform that platform really, like, where you can just reach out to people and, offer help, receive help, to your point, give and take. I think it's a two-way street. So I'm really excited to be a part of this journey, and I can't wait for all exciting things that are going to be coming out in 2026.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for your contribution. I think we've actually covered pretty much everything. The only thing I'd like to call out is I think the audience, the members that are watching this have probably heard a lot of us using the words mission, vision, and you're probably wondering, where is it? I don't see anything. Please give us grace. We are working through it. We are taking a stab on how to establish this as a brand, and have the right pieces to ensure that we're guiding the community in the right manner. I want to make an open call before we end the meeting. I think we're at a great pace, and in fact, very impressed with all of us. So good job to the team for, making concise, but getting the right information in a robust manner. What I would like to ask of those that are listening, please, if you are interested in volunteering in any capacity, whether it be a one-time session, maybe providing your thoughts and ideas, we're open to that as well. If you would like to be a chapter head for your city or region, we also are very interested in finding folks that can help us. Again, like the lady said, we would like to host one in-person event per region in 2026. So the goal is just get people together once. You don't have to get everyone together, as many people that can come together. But, maintain the spirit of it, maintain the momentum, maintain the excitement, and make sure it's done in a sustainable manner. I think even if, there's probably a lot of brand founders in the group, they're probably relating, like, if you just invest right off the bat, right away, it's not sustainable. You need to have a longer term plan for longevity, and do it in a manner that's organized, and we have the ability to do it. If you think otherwise as an entrepreneur, please message me. I would love to pick your brain on that. But that is the perspective that we are taking, is how can we ensure this wheel continues to keep going regardless of our active involvement or not. I think all of us will definitely be actively involved. But, we're hoping this could be a self-sustainable wheel where it's based on everyone's contributions. So I hope I captured all the main thoughts. Open floor if there's anyone else that wants to say something.
To that point, when people are meeting, engaging, or for coffee chats, we share pictures. I feel like it's always a great idea to put faces to names, and just share that across the groups. I think that just builds a lot of momentum and excitement. How members are meeting and connecting with each other across the different time zones that they're in.
Yeah, Fiza, did you want to add anything?
No, I was going to take her cue and say, hey, anything on programming, events, partnerships, social media, anybody wants to volunteer, please reach out to me or Shalini, and I'm looking for volunteers. So that'll be great. I'm already building my team here. So.
Okay. Well, and on that point, let me already tell, say, just kind of like, bring this to, to closure to a certain degree. Number one, we're going to transform from the group to a community on WhatsApp, right? And as Shruti mentioned, there could be multiple options there for you to decide which ones you want to join. And what that'll do for everyone is that rather than having all the conversations happening in one big group chat, now we can, if there's a local event happening, not everybody has to see the chatter on that particular thing. Things like that will start, happening. So, please make sure you join the ones that you want to join. So that's a big infrastructure thing that Shruti has led and has got support from everybody on the team to make it happen. So Shruti, I want to personally thank you, for doing that. I want to thank Fiza. She has been leading the charge on the content side. She already said, like, I need help. There's a reason why she's asking for help, because she already seeing the volume of work that's coming, right? And that's why she's kind of like wanting to pace herself, and she's trying to do things very thoughtfully and sustainably, so that we are building on every step that we take. So super important, and thank you, Fiza, for doing that. Pavi's had to drop off, unfortunately, because he's got other things going on, but Pavi's bringing the sense of, hey, guys, we got to be thinking about this smartly, where we are building ourselves up where we can actually make things happen and maybe one day we'll have a global event in person. Who knows? How will we pay for that? We're thinking about those questions. Pavi is leading the way and thinking about those kinds of questions right now, right? And then there's Shalini, right? Shalini's, she's the one who's going to like grab this by the horn and said, we're doing it, and look where we are. So, there's a lot of, passion that's coming from her. So everybody's bringing passion from a different direction. So that's why when we said, you want to support, you want to help, come on over. We'll figure out a way to get you involved, basically, right? So for everybody here, this would have not happened without them, right?
And definitely. And same, right back at you, Yogesh, by the way. So I think we don't have enough words to capture it, but we're just grateful for everyone taking part, and others that I want to recognize also, sorry to interrupt, but I want to recognize those folks that have individually messaged us and raised their hands to say, I want to take part in this. Let me know how I can help. I will be a chapter head. People are coming and volunteering their time and effort and their passion. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because I feel exactly the same way. There's a lot more passion that's out there that we want to obviously tap into. So when you see the locations, for example, that we've created right now, we've started with these ones. That doesn't mean that's going to be the end point, right? So if you're seeing yourself in a region, for example, that's okay. As the community grows over there, we'll start creating separate groups for by country or by city or whatever the case may be, right? So everything will evolve. Everything is in flux, but we want to make sure that the positive energy and the momentum continues for everyone, basically. I want to end with one last thing, which is that we've already opened a LinkedIn business page, right, Fiza? So we have a SAMI business page that's there. So if anybody wants to put, either on their experience side, or if they want to put in the volunteering side, that I'm a member of SAMI or I'm doing X for SAMI, go right ahead. This is another way for you to add to your resume, right? So, this wouldn't happen happen without Fiza's
And
support.
it'll be a great space for you to watch out for what's coming up on podcasts or webinars, trainings. We'll be posting all of that also starting from our event in January in Vegas. So watch out for that space and proudly badge it on your profile.
Perfect. Thank you, Fiza. That's exactly right. So, as you can see, we're building out the infrastructure to help you be able to stay engaged and for you to help, contribute to your local community as well as the broader global community of SAMI, so to speak, right? So with that said, I want to thank everybody for joining today, live. And if you are listening to this, after the fact, don't hesitate to drop a comment in the channel. That's totally fine. We want to hear back from you. We want to hear exactly what you're thinking. And if there are things that we've missed, tell us. We're not perfect, as the group has said. We're here to learn from each other. All right. So with that said, thank you, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Have a great, happy festive occasions in the next week or two, and happy holidays.